Dukescopy TV. Today we're looking at risk premia and structured product sweet spots. I'm joined by Sacha Duparc, Head of Structuration with Banque Cantonale, Vaudoise. Welcome, Sacha.
Well, thank you, Shainette, for having me here today.
So what investment strategy would you see as most effective to navigate the current environment of negative interest rates, low expected returns and elevated drawdown risks across traditional asset classes?
Well, that's a great question. Actually, right now, most investors are looking for alternatives to cash, and really traditional asset classes are pretty rich. So it has this effect where expected risk premia from those traditional asset classes are pretty low, and you have to look into alternatives. So what has happened in the past is that to diversify risks linked to traditional assets, people have been looking for hedge funds, private equity, infrastructure, and have tried to diversify away their risks through those different strategies, so to speak. Now it has happened that in the past, it proved costly to go into these strategies, and also it did not perform as well as was expected. So the Yale model, as it's called, kind of collapsed, and now we're looking at the third generation of models whereby people invest directly into those risk premias that they are over or underexposed to. So if you think about a specific strategy, you would think, for instance, of FX carry. Some clients might not have too much exposure to that, and the idea is to get into the strategy directly instead of going through a hedge fund that will probably implement multiple risk premia into a basket. There, the client really goes for the risk premia himself and apportion it as a function of the exact exposure that he's looking for.
So what characteristics should one look for in a risk factor to determine whether to get exposure or not?
I guess the main thing is that the risk premia has to be explainable. It has to be backed by serious economic and academic research, and basically the simpler and the more robust the strategy is, the better it might perform in the future. Basically, you want to get into something that you know has been going on for some time. So persistence in the return stream is extremely important. The second thing you might be looking for is also a high return over risk ratio. Is that something that's really palatable over the long run? Is that a return stream that exhibits some cyclicality? And if it does, then you should compensate for higher returns over risk ratios. The third thing I guess you should be looking at is whether it can be accessed easily and in a cost-efficient basis. So those three things really are what makes the core of how someone should select his risk premia. Also, the risk premias should be unique. There should be no overlap amongst the risk premia. So you are looking at different vectors of risks and returns that are uncorrelated across each other and that constitute a robust basket whereby this is not affected, let's say, by regime shifts the same way that traditional assets would be.
So practically, what would you believe would be the best investment vehicle to gain access to those investment solutions, and how would you design effective investment solutions of risk premia?
Well, so far, investing in risk premia has not been difficult in a way that, let's say, we were lacking the access to these risk premia. Now there are investment vehicles that allow you to get into those risk premia directly, whether on a standalone basis or as a basket, as we talked about earlier. So some of those investment vehicles, such as certificates or structured products, allow you to have a unique exposure to the set of return vectors you have selected. And that for small sizes, those products are also extremely liquid. Basically, you can come in and out of those risk premia as you see fit and as you require as per your portfolio. Basically, you have a set of expectations, and also you have a goal and targets to meet in a specific set of constraints. And you can basically implement those risk premia strategies utilizing those extremely liquid and easy to implement certificate products. If you're looking for also an alternative to cash, you could look at structured products such as call options wrapped into a funded structure. Why is that? Because baskets of risk premia are pretty cheap on an option basis. They have low volatility. Therefore, you can buy options on those for a rather inexpensive premium. Once you can do that, you can basically build those capital protected structures that offer your participation to the upside of the basket you've selected, and you can also cut off the potential losses associated with those risk premia. So now if you have properly constituted your basket, it has low risks, low drawdown risks, a low volatility, and therefore it's cheap, and it's also cheap to implement as a capital protected structure.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming in today, Sacha.
Well, thank you, Sinead.
That's all from Sacha and myself for now. Thanks for tuning in, and remember to keep clicking back to Duparc TV. Bye for now.